into this building, come into this room, into this space, so that you can be the guide and control of our meetings on today. Oh God, have your way, have your way. This is our prayer. In the matchless name of Jesus we pray, and we all say amen.
Amen. Thank you. So thank you all for our first council workshop of June. Glad that you all are here to join us. See,
Yes.
it gets better. I am in a winning mood right now. I had the eye of the tiger. 5 has become a very good number for me, Ms. City Manager. And today we're talking about the 5-year homelessness review. To inform council, I think we're going to have an executive session on real estate.
Yes, sir.
Anything on city attorney, Mr. Clerk? Okay, so we'll have an executive session and we can do that during the lunch period. So without any further ado, Mr. Out of Touch City Manager, who didn't understand what history was made last night.
I just wanted you to share it with me. So, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I think we're going to have a pretty good, hopefully a pretty good workshop discussion today. When City Council brought me on almost 5 years ago, one of the top priorities that City Council asked me to work on and the team work on was homelessness. So today we kind of want to look back at those 5 years since September 2021, which started with the adoption of the Housing Savannah action plan, which included work on homelessness, but all of the policies and investments that this council has enacted and has made in the last 5 years, and where the data says that we are today on that issue. So I'm going to ask our Chief Community Services Officer, Chief of Community Services, Ashley Marshall, to kind of begin with a 5-year look back and look through some of the council actions I've done. And then we're going to hear from our partners from the Interagency Council on Homelessness, the Executive Director there, Ms. Stephanie Cable, as well as our Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless Executive Director, Ms. Jen DeLong. I do want to note that we have our ICH chairwoman, Ms. Jennifer Davenport, who is here with us in the workshop room as well, and our Downtown Neighborhood Association members who are also big partners in this work. We're going to talk about, I'll also start by saying one of our values for Savannah GPS was partnership with an emphasis on regional partnership. And homelessness, like housing, is an issue that does not stop at the incorporated borders of Savannah. It impacts our entire county and our entire region. And this council has led with regional partnership in this effort, and I think that we'll see those results as we look back for 5 years. So we'll hear from all of our partners today and then hopefully have a discussion with council about what you've liked over the last 5 years of investment and work, where you see us needing to do more or do things differently as we move forward with the next 5 years of our homelessness work, which is guided by a first ever homelessness strategic plan for our entire region led by the ICA. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Chief Marshall to begin the presentation today.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you and to have the opportunity to go over the past 5 years of intentional and very thoughtful work that this council and administration has done in the area of homelessness. First, of course, all of our work is grounded in our GPS and our goals. Specifically, there are 2 strategies that lead the way for our work with homelessness. Under Goal 2 and Objective 1 to expand housing affordability, availability, and address homelessness. There are a strategy that looks at driving our Housing Savannah Action Plan implementation, as well as a strategy to drive our crisis response system, making homelessness rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. And those are not aspirational statements, but they are operational commitments backed with real dollars. And today we're going to show you exactly how you all have done that. The city's homeless investments fall into three funding streams. Federal funding, which includes HUD Continuum of Care Emergency Solutions Grant, or you might hear it called ESG, Home ARP, CBDG, and HOPWA. Local capital funding through SPLOST and the Savannah Affordable Housing Fund, and local operating funding, which is your general fund dollars which support community grants, any off-cycle partnerships, and program contracts. What this means is that the work is not funded from a single source. It's layered, intentional investment strategy across federal, capital, and operating dollars. In addition, since 2021, this council and this administration have taken several significant policy actions that pave the way to additional programming and funding investments, making a difference to community members who find themselves without shelter. You have adopted the Housing Savannah Action Plan in 2021. You supported the creation of the Interagency Council on Homelessness through a resolution in 2022, as well as our city manager provided an affirmative vote for its creation at the Continuum of Care. You have adopted the ICH Regional Strategic Plan in 2025. The city manager worked to establish an inclement weather policy in 2023, ensuring that this city had a plan to support those who were living outside during extreme weather incidents. You passed the urban camping ordinance in 2025, and the city manager issued his encampment management policy that same year, giving guidance to how we would abate encampments with dignity, honor, and respect for those who were trying to find safe shelter. And then the ICH was codified into state law through Georgia House Bill 797 in 2025. This is not a list of ideas, but it's the creation of a clear and thoughtful policy infrastructure that did not exist 5 years ago. This slide is busy, but for good reasons. Your funding investments and policy scaffolding allowed for new programs to emerge and key programs to find the supportive backing they needed from our city. Internally, the police department's HOPE unit launched in July of 2024 as an outreach-first policing model, and their behavioral health unit was expanded by council resolution in February 2023, enabling them to continue to respond with care to those who are suffering from mental health concerns. Streets to Stability provides city funding for street outreach and transportation in partnership with the Homeless Authority, reaching a minimum of 1,500 people annually. Our city now operates cooling and warming centers. You established the Mini Day Center Grant in 2023 and the Homeless Outreach Team Grant in 2022. The Union Mission Day Center contract provides city general funds to support daytime services, including showers, case management, and resource navigation. And we are investing in over 100 new units of affordable and supportive housing across 5 developments. The bottom line is, since fiscal year 2022, Council has appropriated $3.6 million general fund dollars towards ending homelessness, growing from an initial investment of $195,000 annually in 2021 to over $980,000 in 2025. That is a 404% increase in your direct commitment to this cause. Here's your full picture. Housing Services, led by Senior Director Martin Freddy, has directed $16.25 million in homelessness housing development. Human Services, led by Senior Director Carrie Reed, has administered $12.3 million in grants, contracts, and federal programs. Council, City Manager, that is approximately $28.5 million in total city-directed investments since September of 2021. The 3 numbers that I want you to hold on to is 117 new homes created, 10,834 people reached through city-funded homelessness programs, and that 404% increase in your general fund commitment. Some details behind that $16.25 million for housing. You can see that year-by-year breakdown on the slide. Savannah Gardens construction was funded through CDBG grants. Dundee Cottages infrastructure through SPLOST and Home ARP. 1829 Florence Street and 916 MLK Boulevard through the Savannah Affordable Housing Fund, and 700 Drayton through the Savannah Affordable Housing Fund and low-income housing tax credits. I'm not reading every line, but what you can see is that these are real projects that produced real units funded through multiple streams across 5 consecutive years. The city's human services side is equally as phenomenal. 5 funding categories tracked annually from 2021 through 2025 show that we have HUD continuum of care for permanent supportive housing, $4.7 million over the period. City General Fund for our grants and programs, $3.6 million. Emergency Shelter Grant, nearly $900,000. And CDBG Homelessness Services, nearly $500,000. Finally, we have HOPWA, which supports individuals who are living with HIV and AIDS, and it runs on a 3-year cycle. But that's still, with that 3-year cycle, $1.8 million. The annual total across all completed funded category cycles is $10.9 million, and with a partial investment in 2026, because we're not done, it brings the broader total to $12.3 million. On this slide and the next, it's a pleasure to show you exactly where those dollars land at program levels. Here you will see where our federal dollars have gone. It's gone to the HMIS system, emergency shelter provision, homelessness prevention through Family Promise and Wesleyan Community Centers, and permanent supportive housing through CSAH and Union Mission. Here are the key programs that your city funds have supported. Those general fund investments have supported homeless service coordination through our CPP local granting process, the Streets to Stability outreach services, accessible day centers, key utility assistance for Dundee Cottages, and a critical pilot to have extended intake for emergency shelter with Union Mission. The result of this hard work can be seen in what has been built and who has been touched. 56 homes in 2022, 10 in 2023, 21 in 2024, 30 in 2025. And that means from those investments alone, there will be 20 units of housing that will come alive this year to welcome community members and families at need through 916 MLK and 1826 Florence Street, which Florence Street specifically provides safe housing for medically fragile individuals experiencing homelessness. That's 117 units, 117 opportunities. These again are not plans, but they are keys in people's hands. And most importantly, your work touched the lives of real people. 1,382 unduplicated individuals in 2021, 2,568 in 2025. You saw year-over-year growth of the amount of individuals that this investment, these policies, these programs have supported, have helped, and have touched. That year-over-year growth reflects both in your expanded investment and a stronger, more coordinated service delivery system. Because of that, again, real people have been touched, real lives have been changed, and showed a dedication that all truly means all in the city of Savannah in so many meaningful ways. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Jennifer DeLong to walk you through where we are today in the 2026 pit count.
As you make the transition, Ashley was talking about our investments and our policies. and now Jim DeLong, and the Homeless Authority, who does our PIT count every year, is going to talk to us about how those investments have been in terms of what our outcomes in our community are.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'm here to provide a clear update on the current state of homelessness in our community, the progress we've made, and where we need to focus moving forward. As of the 2026 point-in-time count, 582 individuals were experiencing homelessness in our community. That's trend data. It's considered dynamic data, not static data, with 478 in sheltered settings and 104 unsheltered in our community on that night at that time, and over the next 10 days, also the count accumulated. That distinction matters because it reflects how effectively our system is engaging individuals and helping them move indoors, even if temporarily, while we work toward permanent solutions. Over the past 3 years, we've seen significant, measurable progress. Unsheltered homelessness has decreased by 62% from 271 individuals in 2023, which was our baseline, to now what is 104 individuals. Chronic homelessness has been reduced by 59%, showing system efficiency, referral processes, and coordinated entry does work. Active encampments have declined by 83% from 87 that we counted when we began engaging encampments seriously back in 2022 to now 15 that were counted through the point-in-time count. These outcomes are the result of coordinated strategy aligning outreach, shelter, and housing pathways. In 2025, our system served over 6,000 individuals, reflecting both scale of the need and the reach of our collective services. 2,619 individuals were engaged through our Streets to Stability Street Outreach Program, and 1,765 individuals exited our homeless service response system to safe, stable, permanent housing in various iterations, which is an incredible achievement for our system. This demonstrates that we are not just making homelessness management, but we are actively helping people move out of homelessness. Outreach and transportation has been a critical increase in our community. Street outreach, SPD Hope Unit, Community Services Specialists, CSH Streets to Stability, Behavioral Health Units, Square One Ministries, Renegade Paws, and Street Medicine is the cornerstone of this work. And I just want to go back to that slide one more time to talk about street outreach a little more intentionally. Last year alone, with the number of people that we serve, many of whom have been living unsheltered and disconnected from services, it's not a one-time interaction in the street outreach space. It's persistent, relationship-based engagement that builds trust over time and often takes multiple contacts before someone is ready to accept help. Transportation has played a critical role, and that investment in transportation has made a transformative difference over the last 5 years. Over the past 5 years, 1,447 individuals and families have been reconnected through CSAH's stable support systems outside of our community. That's long-distance transportation support with getting people back to safe, stable housing in other communities. This approach is used carefully only when it is client-driven and when there is a verified safe destination. It allows individuals to reconnect with families, support networks, or housing opportunities, and often resolving homelessness more quickly and sustainably. Together, outreach, transportation, and reconnection strategies have been the key drivers to the 62% reduction in street homelessness and a significant decline in encampments in our community. Some ongoing challenges our community faces, and we wanted to highlight this in the point-in-time count this year, families and hidden homelessness. So through our school system and the McKinney-Vento liaison, this was the data that they were able to collect for the school system academic year 2024-2025. So I want to make that distinction. 1,081 students were registered as McKinney-Vento students, and those are students experiencing housing instability. Many are staying in doubled-up situations or hotels, 23% in hotels or motels with limited access to stable shelter. At the same time, we have only one family bed shelter for every 6 unaccompanied adult shelter beds, which is a significant gap in our system. Some other ongoing challenges that have been identified through gaps analysis in the system is that 76% of the individuals served over the past 2 years are experiencing homelessness for the first time. This reflects a broader economic pressure that are pushing more households into instability and a focus and a need for prevention services. mental health and substance use and that connection to that adjacent system, it's more important to recognize that for many individuals, particularly those who remain unsheltered for long periods of time, sometimes struggle with mental health conditions and substance use disorders as a significant factor of their homelessness. Our outreach teams work in coordination with behavioral health and recovery responders, but continued access to mental health care and substance use recovery services as an essential to supporting long-term stability is absolutely needed in our community. As we focus on our next steps as a community, the strategy to expand affordable and accessible housing, increase permanent supportive housing, strengthen prevention and diversion efforts, add family shelter capacity, and continue investing in coordinated system with intentional focus on mental health and recovery services is absolutely essential. In closing, we are making real, measurable progress, particularly in reducing unsheltered homelessness and encampments. At the same time, demand is evolving, especially among families and first-time households. This is a moment where we continue investment and alignment and can help us sustain and accelerate the gains we've made. Thank you so much. I'll turn it over to Ms. Stephanie Capel, Executive Director of the ICH.
Thank you. So we've talked about the city's policies and investments. We've talked about what that has meant from a data perspective and the gaps that we still see. Now we're going to hear from Stephanie about the partnerships and policies that are driving this work across the county. I do want to just make sure council realizes, council, they didn't support the creation of the ICH, they created the Interagency Council on Homelessness through resolution, and the COC work to adopt this model. It's the first Interagency Council on Homelessness in the state. Through the work of the chamber and Ms. Davenport, the state actually adopted our local ICH and codified it as a state authority. So it has additional powers to be able to help drive the work that we're doing through homelessness even further. And the big part about this is a community table. So this is a table of providers and stakeholders who come together to help shape the work moving forward into something that this council created for our community. Thank you, Stephanie.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me this time to speak with you all this morning. And building on what Ms. DeLong has shared with us, how do we take those numbers and how do we continue moving forward with plans that meet just not the need that we have on our streets currently, but going forward? And that is where the role of the ICH comes in. So if you look back, as was shared, formed in 2022, and I was hired at the end of that year. In 2023, we really began taking actions, building up our board, making sure that we were bringing all the right partners to the table, strengthening that voice of our service providers who have traditionally sat at that table by bringing in additional partners from across the community, including our hospitals, our school system, the sheriff's department. Anyone who says homelessness is touching their work is sitting at that table helping to find those solutions. And if you remember, we had a very cold Christmas in 2022, and that is where we developed our first cold weather shelter and the process to start our inclement weather policy. Moving into 2024, we spent a lot of time developing a plan, and I believe we developed a plan that is very well done and very thoughtful. There's always room for improvement and growth, and we continually evaluate this plan to make sure we are staying on the right path. But most importantly, in this plan, we elevated the voice of those with lived experience. We didn't just talk to the leaders of our programs. We talked to the frontline workers in our programs, and we talked to those who were living in homelessness and asked for their input and their direction. We didn't stand on the sidelines and say, this is what you need to do. We said, give us your experiences and help us craft this plan, which I believe has had some significant value and input in this plan and how we are moving forward. Then moving on into 2025, you can see, I think a lot of action started last year. We had our encampment management plan that was, first created by the ICH, then adopted throughout other communities in Chatham County. We brought in the urban camping ordinance. We also, in looking at that and realizing that we were creating, some barriers and some safety to preserve community health, we knew that we needed to have more partners at the table. So we formed our Justice Partners on Homelessness work group, which is strongly looking at how do we reduce returns to jail and to homelessness? How do we work together to address these issues? And then, as mentioned, we were established by state government. in 2025. And moving into 2026, it's already been a busy year with our bylaws being updated and adopted. We now have our homeless court program, which will graduate its first graduates next week. These are individuals who have used services to help address their legal issues and get themselves back on the path to housed. And then again, in January of this year, we got another dose of that very cold weather, but this was the first time that we partnered with Chatham County to provide a unified shelter, a great collaboration that said, hey, we are working as a team across the whole to do this. And then this year too, we also were big advocates for the Georgia Rehoused funding, and that has been another critical role where we see our partners with organizations like the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Association. We moved together to say what that funding would do, not just for us here in Chatham County, but across the state, recognizing that we want our neighbors to also be doing better, to also be making these advancements. You can see some of their members and partners up there. These are not just organizations that, say, yes, I'm a member of the ICH. They're actually in our meetings. They're doing our work. They're reporting their data. We're working in coordination and collaboration to continue to move us forward as a whole. You can see there the goals of the 5-year strategic plan. Ultimately, our goal is to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. We want those who have an experience with homelessness to get out of that experience quickly and to not face it again. And that means having the resources that are outlined throughout these 6 goals. So 1, we want to make sure that we've established an integrated system to prevent and end homelessness, and that foundation always exists in the role of the ICH to always continue to support our providers and to support our community members in need. We are working quickly to address the immediate needs of people experiencing homelessness, while also increasing opportunities to access affordable housing and low barrier shelter. Everyone should have an opportunity to utilize our services to gain shelter and housing through our work. We are also develop and strengthen formal programs to prevent homelessness. The best answer to homelessness is to never have to experience, and we are working hard to do that and making sure that we are setting up early interventions for those who are at risk of homelessness. We also are looking at how can we expand opportunities that will keep people from entering into homelessness or having that experience again. And that means looking at our workforce opportunities, our transportation, and the types of supports that might be needed to help people over difficult times. And lastly, we support the community-wide efforts to advance these policies that prevent and end homelessness, not just here in Chatham County, but we want our neighbors to also have these resources and these supports so that they don't have community members leaving looking for resources in our community. So as we look at the 5-year strategic plan, some things that we've developed over the last year, I keep kind of saying it's effective programs and smart policies. And I think as you look at this, you'll see just a small sampling of some of those effective programs that have been built upon this year. We have the Union Mission After Hours Intake, which now provides a place for individuals to go outside of traditional business hours to receive services. And I know our Savannah Police Department has utilized these beds to help individuals who they come across at night that don't have a place to stay, get them someplace safe and get them connected into services. We also have our extended outreach hours from our partners at the Homeless Authority, now being able to be out on those streets later. Again, catching those individuals outside of our regular business hours. We actually have a fair number of individuals who work but are unhoused. And if they're at work during the day and not able to utilize services, this is a great opportunity to connect them into those services. And tomorrow, I'm sure many of you will also be there with us as Union Mission's Day Center becomes a resource center. And we see that incredible project really evolve and develop into something that's really going to transition and move individuals out of homelessness. But at that same time, as I've stressed, we have to have smart policies. Policies like the the encampment management policy allow us to treat people with respect and dignity when it's unsafe for them to be outside in public spaces. The urban camping ordinance that allows us to move forward and help bring individuals into shelters and keep our squares and parks clean and open for all of us to be able to use. And we are now actually working on a best practices for banned clients. So if someone has had a problem at a shelter or a program in the past, they have the opportunity to return by demonstrating that they've made positive changes. As I said, this is a plan that we are going to keep evolving and working towards, and so it is always expanding. We have brought our additional municipalities on, and of course, City of Savannah was the first to adopt, followed shortly after by Chatham County. But now we have also had Garden City and Thunderbolt join us, the small but mighty Thunderbolt. And coming in August, I'll be visiting our old friend, City Manager Bell, out in Tybee for a presentation to Tybee's City Council. We also are looking at how can we give our community partners good, solid resources to use. Policies like best practices for long-distance bus travel make sure that we are giving people safe handoffs when they have the opportunity to return home. Safe discharge planning by working with our hospitals and our mental health care providers allows us to ensure that if someone has been stabilized medically, we have the opportunity to place them into the shelter that's most appropriate for them and ensure that their wellness path can continue. And tonight, we will actually be hosting our first evening ICH general membership meeting because we want our community members who work during the day in fields outside of homelessness to have more of an opportunity to participate and learn about what we're doing. So we're going to be looking at how do we move the meetings around to include more of our community members. Looking at the urban camping ordinance, as we approach our 1-year anniversary of this, here are some numbers that I actually think give us a pretty interesting glimpse into what's been occurring. So we've had 486 citations issued. Now, some of those are multiple citations to the same individuals. We try very hard to use that as a tool to connect to services. So just because someone's cited doesn't mean that they're going to get arrested immediately the next time. We do look at this situation. We consider what that person is doing to get themselves out of homelessness. We've had 96 arrests, and again, some of those are duplicates among individuals. What's very interesting to me is if you look, we've had 51 people who have been arrested one time for urban camping, and they've not been arrested again, which tells us, as we look in our HMIS system, we can see they're actually connecting to services. So they're using that arrest as an opportunity or perhaps a little bit of a wake-up call that maybe now is the time we engage in services. We have 19 individuals who have been arrested multiple times. They actually account for 45 of those arrests. And these 19 are some of our more difficult individuals to work with and to engage in services. I dug down a little bit deeper into some of these numbers. 19 of those who have been arrested have had no prior entry into the HMIS system at the time of their arrest. But I've been monitoring those 19 individuals and found that 8 of them have now engaged in services since their arrest and now are working with our service providers in HMIS. Now, we do have some homeless service providers who operate outside of our HMIS system, and I asked them to take a look at those other 11 to see if they have contact with them. Interestingly, 2 had contact. Many of them knew the names but said they're not interested in services. Of the 2 that had contact, one of them we can basically show they have very significant mental health issues, which are not allowing them to engage. Services have been offered, many opportunities have been presented to go into treatment, to care, and they have not been able to follow through on that. But I find it very interesting that of that number, 11 are kind of our most difficult folks to move forward. And this might sound silly to say, but it's a number I'm a little bit proud of, because it does show me that we are actually, the majority of the people that we are coming into contact with are accepting services. We have 11 very difficult individuals that we know are violating this ordinance that we've not been able to connect to services. On the same point, we have roundtable discussions on how do we make this different? How do we get those 11 engaged? What services are we missing that would help them? I am going to turn this back over to Chief Marshall.
So I also want to make sure you all had the opportunity to see some of the photos from 916 MLK. I have to admit those apartments are warm, inviting, beautiful, and if you go in it, you may yourself wish you could stay, honestly. But Mayor and Council, what you've heard today represents 5 years of intentional, sustained effort. The city has invested approximately $28.5 million. You've built 117 homes, with 20 of them opening this year. You've reached nearly 11,000 people through city-administered programs, and this thoughtful and intentional work by council and this administration has reduced unsheltered homelessness by 62%, chronic homelessness by 59%, and active encampments by 83% since 2023 alone. That progress is real, and it's the direct result of the policy decisions and investments this council and its administrator have made. And as a slight point of personal privilege, this is the work that excited me for me to throw my hat into the ring to apply to come work with you all. Not only is Georgia watching, even Virginia and other places are looking at what you all are doing with awe and respect. You all are doing work the rest of us are trying to figure out how to do. And that's why it is my privilege that I am now a part of Team Savannah to continue to help move this work along, to help strengthen those what's working, address the gaps that remain, for example, in our family sheltering and maybe in prevention as well, and to ensure that the systems that have been built already are durable enough to retain and sustain these results. So I would like to pass it to our city manager, but your staff and community partners are happy to answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Ashley. It's really wonderful work from all of our partners and leadership from council. If I'll just take 1 minute to kind of put it into it, Mayor, before we get into the discussion. I think we've highlighted a lot of the great work, and I want to just kind of say 5 years ago we had a lot of great partners. We had a lot of great people working in the space. We had a lot of interest and leadership there, but we did not have a systems approach. We had all of the recipes. We needed investment. We needed political leadership, and we needed a systems approach to this work. In 5 years, with political leadership, with investment, we've been able to create a systems approach to a systems issue, which has led to this progress. We have a long way to go before where we need to be. There are many gaps that we have to fill. Jen DeLong highlighted some in our family space, which is oftentimes the most invisible part of homelessness for families with young children who are living in hotels or motels or going from bed to bed in our community, as shown by our McKinney-Vento numbers. We also have some work to do connecting all parts of our mental health and justice system to this work. I think some of the most exciting work that we're doing now, led by the ICH, is our Justice Partners work, where the city is there along with our chief of police, the county police is there, the sheriff's office is there, the DA is there. We're getting our recorder's court and superior court judges there so we can all look and understand what implications we have system-wide to this work. So I think that's kind of the most important part to me as an administrator is we've taken a systems approach to a systems issue. I think we have better infrastructure to continue to make progress in the years to come.
Thank you, Ms. City Manager. Thank you, team. I want to start off by thanking this council and the council immediately before. When you adopted the mantra, the vision statement that Savannah will be a safe, economically thriving, environmentally healthy, economically thriving community for all people. That all was the operative word. And in doing that, you were saying that Savannah was not going to be the place necessarily and totally and exclusively for the rich and the famous. That we would lead with love, we would lead in compassion, and that for us, all meant all. And then taking that vision statement and operationalizing that, you did more than provide the solution. Your leadership was the solution. To the city manager's point, we created the ICH. Even before his arrival, I remember I convened all of our homeless service providers in one room. You remember, Jen?
Yeah, I do. That was about a month before I started.
Oh, that's right. And said, how do we fix this? And we have created a continuum of care that is not only deep, but is also wide. And you see the results of that, to the point where we are, as Ashley said, the U.S. Conference of Mayors asked about it, the National League of Cities asked about it, the Georgia Municipal Association asked about it, about how were we able to do some of the things that we have been able to do. And the simple answer is that we did it together. And so, thank you all, because it always takes one spark to light the flame. And you all provided that spark. Mr. Manager, and to your team, vision is one thing, provision is something different. So thank you all for taking the vision and operationalizing it. And to all of our partners, we can't go at this alone, nor should we. And even in spite of unfair criticism, and sometimes, and I'll say it, 'cause I'm feeling kind of myself today, people who would insist that we treat homeless folks as less than. This council, this government, our partners have insisted on a facts-based approach, and we've been able to do some amazing things because of it. Last week, Mr. Manager, you, myself, Joe Sharehouse, were able to talk to the secretary and those at the Department of Veteran Affairs and how we've been able to reduce homeless veterans to functional zero.
This close to it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Did you say zero?
Functional zero.
Mr.
Which is-
President got kind of upset about these statements, but we didn't talk about that later. Last night, he had a lot to say. He was the Veterans Council.
And we were able to tell that to the United States government and use that as a platform to ask for more support for our veteran community. So, I mean, I agree that we have a lot more to do, a lot further to go, a lot more opportunities, but it does not negate the work that has been done, which in my mind is not only phenomenal, it is absolutely game-changing. And so I'm gratified because that could be my mama, my daddy, or my sisters, or someone I care about that needs housing, and this city gave a damn enough to care enough to make sure that those things happen. And so we continue to push in this space, and I just ask council that we continue to put our foot and keep our foot on the gas, full throttle, that what our ICH asks from us, that we continue to provide, because we are making a dent. And every time we do, we are literally changing someone's life, absolutely and totally. Tomorrow, we will be cutting the ribbon on this amazing day center that I had the opportunity to tour, which again is not only a labor of love through Union Mission and partners. It is a one-stop shop where people are treated with dignity, can charge their phones, can have their clothes washed, have food, air-conditioned space, health services, all of this in one space. And so as I told my trainer, it's the first, it will not be the last. And so I'm looking forward to the opportunity in this council leading the way again and ensuring that our South Side has a similar, equally brilliant state-of-the-art facility as well, for people to have a place to be able to go. So just, I know I was a little wordy on it, but I just wanted to thank you all because people look at it now, but they don't look back at the decision. That word all really meant for all of this happening. So, Alderman Purchase.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was watching online on the way here, so listening to the conversation and the presentations, and I do appreciate that. For the past 20 years, I've had the opportunity, so to speak, to engage with our roofless individuals in the county, in the city, and various municipalities throughout Chatham County. And I've probably for the past 6 years, I have engaged with them more than I ever have in the past. I am extremely proud of the work that has been done, and we are moving in the right direction. I'm gonna keep pressing my thumb down. We got a lot more to do. We have a lot more to do. Couple things, early on, the last council, early on, there was a couple of us that got together, myself and Alderman Palumbo, and pushed for the pedestrian safety ordinance, which we took a hit for because a lot of folks equated that with homelessness and picking on homeless folks, in which it wasn't. And then again, this council, we pushed forth through the urban encampment ordinance, which many of us were very big supporters of. And again, folks were saying that we were picking on homeless folks, and we were not. Because this is an approach, a systematic approach. This is about utilizing the resources, and as a body of government, which we are, I think oftentimes our public and we forget that our main focus is not only to help allocate budget, but to enact ordinances and look at legislation that will benefit the folks that are living and visiting in our city. With that being said, nothing that we are doing on this council, to me, says anything about criminalizing homelessness, which is something that none of us wanted to do or want to do, which I'm speaking for everybody. I can tell you I don't want to do that. But rather, some of these ordinances that we come up with and some of the urban encampment policies that we have are about providing resources and having another tool on the tool belt, and providing what I call responsibility and accountability for individuals. We're trying to help folks, but we're also holding them accountable. It's not a less than standard, it's not a more than standard, any of the ordinary citizens that we have here in the city. So I want folks to understand that we're still holding folks accountable, whether you have a roof over your head or not, right? If you're out doing something in public you're not supposed to be doing, then we are gonna hold you accountable. Mayor made a comment about getting resources on the south side, and I appreciate that, because the majority of us that represent those areas, whether it's the 4th, 5th, and 6th, have seen, and I can tell you this personally because I know we have seen a larger influx of roofless individuals in that area. I can attribute mine to the fact that it's a main corridor and there are a lot of woods and vacant businesses for these folks to either, one, hide, make camp, or try to get resources in that area. One of the biggest reasons that I was a big supporter of the $19 million investment into homelessness initiative a few years back was I thought that we could systematically and equitably approach this. I know that the downtown area is of importance. It's the area that most people visit. But I know that when certain camps have closed down, I have seen people pushed out into other areas. And for me, that's a frustration, because for many years on the south side, the biggest issue that we had was infrastructure, roads, and drainage. And now the number one hot burning issue, at least in my district, is homelessness, rooflessness, individuals experiencing that. We have seen in areas where we have not seen homeless folks wander up and down the road before, we have seen that. And now we are experiencing smaller property crimes because of that. I'm not saying that it's directly correlated. However, in my position and with my work with these individuals out there, there is a direct correlation. We have seen the blight, the littering of our waterways and canals on the south side, specifically the Vernon River, Little Ogeechee River. Those areas have experienced a lot of littering and a lot of trash, and it's hard to remediate, and it's hard to address those, because who's paying for that? We are. We, the taxpayer, are paying for that. A lot of our folks in the 6th district and the 5th district that have wooded areas and lots and vacant areas, where some of our folks are setting up encampments in there, and then in turn becoming a human health hazard. Who pays for that? They are paying for that. And is it fair to them? Does responsibility bear burden on us? Is that for us to handle? So there's got to be some shared responsibility somewhere. The biggest challenge that I see moving forward with this is the behavioral health aspect, right? Behavioral health and addiction issues. It's great that we are providing housing. It's great that we're providing those resources, but if we're not addressing or helping to partner and address those root causes, which are the addictive, in many cases, which I've seen the addictive or mental health issues, then we're going to see the same folks not experiencing that period of homelessness that's not brief and reoccurring. I will tell you that if you go down Abercorn and you see some of those folks that are out there, those are the same faces that have been out there for 8, 9, and 10 years. Now we're seeing a lot of new faces out there. I just want, as we move forward, I just want to see some equity spread out. I understand, again, that we have a tourist area downtown, but the south side, coming in from 95 Veterans Parkway, that's one of the gateways into the city. And as you drive onto the gateway of the city, that's the first thing you see when you come into the city. And it's not about seeing them and feeling uncomfortable. It's about seeing that and not understanding why we don't have a resource there to help those individuals. So for me, I have been asking for 5, almost 6 years now for a resource in that area. And I've asked for it to be in the budget, and I've specifically put that in there for us to see that. Where's the new day center going, by the way? I remember Mike Trainer said something about
Farm Street.
Farm Street.
So I think
Okay.
it's, obviously, we also rely on partnerships. We don't provide, the city does not provide direct homelessness service support. We serve as a funder through HUD and the COC, which funds programs. We also give grants. I do know that, so we have to rely on our provider base to be in those locations. And we do know that
I get that.
And we do know that there is a provider that is looking at a Southside location right now for a day center and kind of a similar one-stop shop, which is very, very promising. And, you know, Stephanie and the team have been in contact with them. The city's going to be as supportive as we can for that program to locate there.
And something, Mr. City Manager, and I will tell you this, Linda in the 3rd District has done a phenomenal job of getting resources for her folks in the 3rd. She was able to, early on, secure a city parcel to help get some sort of sustainable housing in there for individuals. So to say that the city isn't directly, put it this way, we can provide that resource. I have asked time and time again for that same consideration on the south side. I don't care if we have to find a city parcel and we partner with somebody. I'm at the point now where we are paying, I hear it every day and I see it, we're paying officers in the street that are out there in the field to respond to the majority of calls on the south side are people that are loitering, homeless individuals, assaults with one another, because these are the same individuals that are either, one, intoxicated or inebriated of some alcohol or drug, and we are focusing our efforts on that rather than focusing our efforts elsewhere.
Sir, I understand, and where there's opportunities to, when I say we're not a direct service provider, we don't provide the services. We help build the facilities, like for the housing, and the Dundee is a phenomenal program, and it is located in 3rd District. It doesn't just serve 3rd District residents.
I get
Right,
it.
and the same with 916. So, we're always looking for available land and opportunities to provide those, to help provide those resources through our housing grants. And I totally understand what you're saying about the equity piece, and I want to have services on the south side, and we continue to be deliberate about trying to find places and resources for that. I want to make sure, and we'll endeavor to do better here, that the numbers that we saw today are total countywide, not just downtown areas. Like the progress isn't just downtown.
I know that. I'm telling you from the perspective where I'm working every day
Yeah.
and engaged in these encampments every day and talking with these folks every day. And many of them are the same individuals who've been there, like I said, for years and
That's
years
right.
and years.
That's right.
I know we can't force people to take resources, but damn it, we have to provide the resource in the community for those individuals to at least be able to go there and see and get the resource they need, right? So I'm good with you. I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we are seeing equity among the entire city.
Well, let me add, equity is baked into our strategic plan, and it's part of everything we do. On the other end, you got to start somewhere. The day center that we're opening tomorrow, or it's being opened tomorrow, has no government money in it. It was all fundraised. So I mean,
I get
I'm just
what
saying.
you're saying.
So
No,
I
I
mean,
get what you're saying, yeah.
so resourcing land is one thing.
Right.
You still got to have somebody to build a facility.
Right.
And I think I've made it absolutely clear to them and to our community that, I mean, obviously, you find a model, you make a model that works, and then you work on creating. Obviously, this works really well for them because it's really now part of Union Mission's campus now, because it's all over there. I think, the priority that you mentioned at the time was the community center. And that's why today we are approving moving forward to community center, because that was identified by the residents as being the most important. So we're resourcing that.
Right.
But I don't think anybody around this table for a minute would think that the work that in terms of day centers and accessibility to services stops anywhere. I think we continue until everybody. All means all, and all means everywhere. And I think we're committed to it. So I mean, I certainly get your passion, but I think equity is really the secret sauce by which we're sitting around here talking about all the things that have happened.
So the last thing I'll share is when you have a community that's hurting with an issue like this, it's one thing to have the processes and start somewhere. It's another thing to be bold and make bold decisions and to figure out where we go from here. If it's working, that's great. I think we keep the same path we're going. But I think we have to look beyond that and be a little more bold in that area and say, okay, if this is a burning issue we're having in the city right now, what else can we do? Where are we missing that? Where are we missing the pieces? And I'm saying that mental health, addiction issues, and the city providing the land or the resource to be able to handle this. Because right now, what I'm seeing on the south side are people being chased from one spot to another. This spot becomes litter, becomes a human health hazard. They're being told they can't stay here, they go to another spot. The resources are great when they're around the city, but when we're telling folks that they can't be in a spot, where do they go? That's the secret sauce. I mean,
Well,
to me.
then we could transition the community center space.
And-
Well, I mean, and maybe that might be,
And
let's, if we decide to pivot that into homelessness space, then maybe that's something that we look at doing and do the community center later.
So I understand. I understand.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, but no,
understand the,
but I'm saying if we're talking about the urgency of now, now we have something that's on deck.
But Mr. Mayor, this hasn't been urgent. This has been for about 3 years now.
Well, sure it is.
that
And you
we've been-
see, it's taken 5 just to get to where we are now.
Right.
I mean, I think this issue, and again, the other side is, this council can do anything that they're willing to allocate funds to do.
That don't mean we need to get rid of the community center. Because
Well, no, I'm not saying that. He's just saying, well, we need to be able to do something now. I'm saying, well, we've already resourced land over there. We have money. Again, council is going to approve something related to that. I'm saying if, there are options. There are options depending on what this council feels
we
is
just
absolutely.
need to do what?
Well,
Find
again,
the land and
you can
build.
do whatever it is that you want to do and that you're willing to pay for. So I'm offering as an alternative that, there is an opportunity. It may not be the best opportunity. It may not
That's
be.
not an opportunity.
Well,
That's
again,
not even a
Well, if
good
you,
idea.
you say not, but the fact is, I throw it out there for
We
consideration.
could find property.
We have,
could find land.
of course we
could-
can,
I
but
agree
but
with you.
I understand, but it also takes time.
But we need partners too. We don't
So we,
Because even with the land, you have to have somebody to put the $5-10 million that's going to take. Because again, this center over here, there's no government, there's no city money in that. This is all partner money.
There aren't. I will tell you that there have been cities that have been really successful in rehabbing old hotels in certain areas. I know Mr. Long and I, we serve in the same board. And a few years back, we watched a video, and I had the chance to go out to Kansas City and look at what they did with the venture they have out there. Zero tax dollars, absolutely wonderful program that they have out there, and it's great. I think that we have to really dig down into the conversation of focusing on all parts of the city. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. But I will say that there are cities out there that are very successful, and there's a lot of great success stories when they buy some of these properties, and the cities they will actually go in with a partner, purchase the property, rehab the property, like an old hotel or motel, and they are putting transitional housing there for folks that are in need of that service. Because you guys got to remember, these folks that are out there living day to day, we've had this conversation, they're in survival mode. They're not worried about what neighbor's putting a fence up in front of their house, or
My people in survival mode trying to stay in their houses.
or whose color is whatever their front door is, and they're griping about it. These are people that are trying to find a place to use the restroom, trying to figure out where they're going to sleep for the night, trying to figure out where they're going to eat. So, to me, it's about providing that housing aspect, but it's also about providing those wraparound services, right? We have to have the mental health and the addiction stuff. All that stuff has to be part of it.
Yeah.
And when I say think bold in what we're doing, if the city has to share some of that responsibility to solve what I think is a community issue, then we look at the budget this next year coming up and we say, what can we do? Because to me, it is a public safety issue. It's a public health issue. It's a housing issue. So if we figure out a way to put that in there and make it work, then that's what we do. But I don't think it's the city's sole responsibility at all by any means. But I think that we have to be that facilitator, since we're the ones that are out there cleaning up the mess, trying to hold folks accountable, and trying to be that person or that body that's solving the issue in our squares, our parks, and our public spaces.
That's right. So I 100% agree with you that we have to have resources and services all across the city. And I think, again, why we have to take a systems level approach and a systematic approach to the issue, which looks at all of those issues and where we're trying to build out nodes and resources. And I think you'll look back at the numbers and say that City Council has found millions of dollars over the last 5 years to be invested in this. And I think that the key here is that we should continue to find resources to invest in opportunities. And I think the South Side is in need of resources. Do I think that having a day center on the South Side is going to solve the problems that we're seeing there? No. I think it's going to continue to help the system reach the capacity that it needs to. When we're in executive session, I'll talk real estate too. We have reached out even recently to some hotel motel providers who mentioned that they were looking to be on the market for that specific purpose, and to understand what the cost would that be, because we have seen that as an opportunity cities have taken to, one, revitalize old hotel properties, and two, meet a need. So I think that's incredibly, I think the right approach to continue to look at those resources. I will continue to recommend, as your administrator, that we also focus our public dollars on permanent housing opportunities too, which are the solution to the long-term chronic homelessness issue. We have to build out our crisis response system, our shelters, our day centers, our transportation, our outreach, our public safety and services that help manage those things as well. But the keys are going to be to the continued investments in programs like 916 MLK and the COVID Dundee and other places that are providing that stable housing for folks that, and as we've seen at Dundee, people stay there until they get on their feet, and then that resource is open to another person. So I think that 100% agree with everything you're saying.
Well, I appreciate the answer, and the last thing I'll say, and I'm gonna close with this. It's frustrating, and I see it all the time, and I know some of you all here see it. I know Alderman Leggett probably sees it working at the hospital, and I see in public safety, but I've heard folks, especially on social media, refer to refer to homeless folks as less than, not human, you know, really disgusting sort of remarks. And it frustrates me because, as the mayor said, all means all, and these, any of these folks that live here, I mean, or that stay here, they live here, they're part of the community. I get frustrated because I've had homeless folks in my district hit and killed by cars. The amount of homeless individuals that are either victims of assault or involved in assault or even have overdosed and passed away because of that is disheartening and it's frustrating. And these are people. These are members of our community. So I take it personally, and I get a little passionate, as the mayor would say. But I think we have to when we talk about people. And we can all sit at this table and have this conversation, and we're blessed to do that. But the reality is, any one of us could be one job, one paycheck, one decision away from being in that same situation. So I will get passionate, and I'll have that tough conversation. But I think it's worth having that conversation. And I'm just happy that what I've seen so far is working. But again, I'm going to keep pressing my thumb down. There's more to do. Full steam ahead. I'm there to support it all the way. But I'm asking that in the grand scheme of things, there's an equity piece for the South Side.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to echo the sentiments across the table. What I'm hearing is keep the foot on the gas, and I'm so glad we're having this presentation, and really wanted to just put the bottom line up front. I think this is some of the most important infrastructure we've ever built. We built drainage, we built streets, but most residents can't see the infrastructure that we've built behind this system here. It's one of the best collaborative efforts that we've ever been a part of or done. Maybe the landmark between city and county and different agencies and different providers, nonprofits, public and private, pulling in relatively the same direction. I know it ain't easy, but you look at the numbers and the results, and it's working. So what I'm hearing is we want it to work even more, which is exciting. We found something that is making a big difference. And now to be able to spread that around and to be able to do more. And I wanted to commend all of you that are working on this, but I wanted to commend in particular Stephanie Capel. I've seen Stephanie work with providers in the trenches, doing the point in time count, and all the way to the boardroom. And at each situation, she approaches it with dignity, professionalism, respect. She's got a gift for this, and really to her credit and leadership to be able to pull together some pretty cantankerous partners sometimes to get them pulling in the same direction is a real credit to her leadership. And then to commend council for continuing to make these investments. It's something that we all share as an important priority. And to thank the lineage of city managers that I've been able to serve with. Pat Monahan, who understood this intimately and was out there building homes himself. Michael Brown, extremely passionate about it, and bringing on the man, the myth, the city manager that's fluent in this language to be able to build something out special. We're in a position to do things that a lot of other cities can't. But I did have just one vocabulary term question. What is a McKinney-Vento number?
McKinney-Vento is the federal law, McKinney-Vento Act, which was passed in 1984. Somebody's going to Google that, but it was in the 1980s. And it requires the Department of Education to understand the number of students within public school systems across America who are experiencing homelessness. And there are dollars attached to that act that go directly to school systems. The interesting policy perspective on the federal level is that HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, has a different definition of homelessness than does the Department of Education. So you will see in the Department of Education numbers around the McKinney-Vento programs are a much larger number of families and students experiencing homelessness because they count, kind of couch surfing, and more unstably housed situations to count as, quote unquote, a federal definition of homelessness in the education space versus the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which has a more restricted definition of homelessness when it's in terms of where it tries to push federal dollars towards those programs. So McKinney-Vento, every school district and usually every school has a McKinney-Vento coordinator, make sure that those students have free transportation to schools and other services to support students who are experiencing homelessness in the school district.
Let me just add, Chief and I, we were at a crime scene that involved a hotel. And the number of kids that were just there, around and about, and they weren't visitors.
Must have stopped there every day.
This is where they live. And because your school depends on where you live, there are kids that literally within the same course of a year might change schools.
Yeah.
Because they change hotels.
That's right.
And again, I think when people think of homelessness and they think of it in a chronic case, not only couch surfers and those that are in cars, it is a extremely, I don't think it can be, minimized how complex a social issue this is. I mean, it is just hard and it's deep. And you just have to be able to dig all of those things out. And when you think you've gotten one weed out of the ground, it's tied up to a whole bunch of other things that really affect the human experience. So I'm just glad, that we have that team, and we have to just do it one at a time, one situation at a time.
I think to Jen DeLong's presentation where she there a whole slide on the education system numbers, that's really a next area of focus for us is family homelessness, which tends to be more invisible and live in those hotel motel spaces with couch surfing spaces, but it's also a more of a direct correlation to the economics that our families are feeling today, whereas some of our unsheltered and chronic homelessness certainly are tied to economics, but also co-occurring medical and behavioral disorders as well.
Part of the school system is active as...
Yes, absolutely.
Are they totally locked in?
Yes, they are.
Thank you. Alderwoman Alicia Blakely.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. First of all, I want to thank you all so much for this presentation, and I mirror the sentiments of my colleague. I mirror the sentiments of Alderman Pertee based on what's happening over on the south side. And we really, really need to do something about what's going on. Also, I want to commend you, Alderwoman Vernetta Lanier, for fighting for that ADU ordinance, because that actually is helping alleviate some of the homelessness in our community. Now, I have questions for our presenters today. Thank you for telling us about the McKinney-Vento Act, because I'm going to definitely look that up. You speak about our day centers. How much money are we as a city giving our day centers? I know Come As You Are Ministries, they're struggling. So I'd just like to know, that's on that's slide number 6. You don't have to give me that amount right now, but I would like to get that in the future.
Come As You Are and a few other of our day center services, which are really important, get our mini day center grants, a program that this council created to help try to get some resources to a lot of faith-based operations that are doing the work during the day in their church spaces, just like Come As You Are Ministry. And then we have a larger grant, which was the first one. We put an RFP out for that grant for larger day center services. Union Mission won that RFP process and has been awarded that grant by City Council for the last few years. And that provides the programming dollar support for the day center, not the physical structure or anything like that.
I would like to see us increase those grants if possible.
That's right. So you see Come As You Are, is that $20,000 annually? Yes. So $20,000 annually to Come As You Are Ministries, and then Park Place. We
When did
provide
that start happening? I know these people personally. $20,000 to Come As You Are?
It's been on passing for a minute.
And while she's coming, are y'all trying to demonstrate cooling centers or freezing centers for us? It's gotten cold in here again.
Yes, it is.
We will adjust the heat, and I will put my timer on 15 minutes when people start saying it's hot in here. So.
Okay,
It's actually $350,000 for the operations of the center. You are, they have been receiving about $20,000, $25,000 for the last couple of years. Yes, ma'am. They are located right off President Street,
Right.
not
they
President,
used to be
Pennsylvania.
the ones over there on Skidaway.
They're on Pennsylvania Avenue now.
Yeah.
Tigers Den,
Yeah.
nightclub across from Savannah City.
They do good work, and they have they provide day center out of their sanctuary, small sanctuary there, and then they have kind of like a clothing closet there as well.
The resources that they provide are phenomenal, but they don't have the funding. They need more. Now, do you all do outreach to look for homeless people in certain areas? The constant people that are in the spaces, on the medians, the bus stops and what have you, because there's a group of people on the south side, over by the CVS, across where Arby's used to be. These people are there every single day. So is the Homeless Authority got someone going around, you know, talking to these people, engaging with these people, because these people are here every single day?
Yes, ma'am. So what we do at the Homeless Authority is we geolocate all of our outreach efforts so that we can substantiate like which areas of the community are in highest need, and we basically heat map. And so when it's been identified that there are high number of unsheltered individuals in a particular area, when we take the van to that area, there's a geo stamp every time we find it. And so the team gets out and tries to engage with the individuals. But I will say this, we're available until 9 o'clock at night. And so our outreach team, our number is on our website, front facing publicly, and that number is answered until 9 o'clock at night. So if any of the council members or any community members see an unhoused person or a situation that they want some engagement from our staff, they just have to call that number and the team will immediately get to that area. Or if they're not, I wouldn't say immediately, if they're engaged with other people, that they will try their very best to get there that night. We respond to a lot of community calls, local government, stuff that goes here on the smart sheets and things like that that are transitioned through various offices. And we try to give a written response to every effort made, and we try to fully be accountable to the areas we're going to. We do have service-resistant people on the south side. The other thing that you might see is the Bull Street Library, no, sorry, not the Bull Street, the South Side Library and the Savannah Mall. Our mobile shower unit is out there every Wednesday afternoon. Our mobile shower unit also goes to Come As You Are every Wednesday morning. And so we're really trying to maximize service delivery and partner in areas where we know that there's high traffic, high needs, in the effort to always get people connected to services. But if they're resistant to services, we're just gonna keep going back and repeatedly engaging with the individual to build that trust and rapport in the hopes that eventually they'll accept services.
I'd like to suggest in our bus stop areas, the resource information. I don't know if you could connect with Chatham Area Transit and possibly post up something on the bus stops that have the enclosures, letting them know that the services are available.
The chairman is right there at the table.
Well, I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm talking to you, but
it's an opportunity.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can do it via QR code, and we'll launch the kiosk project. Our SCAD's kiosk project was Community Wayfinder, specifically intentionally targeted people that are unsheltered. There'll be one at the Bull Street Library for sure, and then outside of the Union Mission Day Center, and we're looking at other key locations to try to partner. But there is a potential to do a simple QR code. We can even maybe figure out how to couple it with our Give Change That Counts, because it's already in key locations to where it takes you to a resource directory. So,
well, sometimes if you're using the QR code, a lot of homeless people, some of them don't have access to telephones. So if you do a listing
Yep.
and a number, then they could get their friends or whoever, somebody to help them. Also, Mayor Johnson spoke briefly about associating with the Veterans Association. I don't see them here. And maybe I did not overlook it, but I think that we need to communicate with our veteran services because they do a phenomenal job, but there are a lot of veterans out here that's homeless. And if we could connect them, that the federal government has a phenomenal program that will house them, but a lot of them don't know that this exists. Also, Savannah State students, they have a, you know, when we need to do something with them because a lot of them are homeless as well.
We work directly with Jeff.
Savannah
Sorry.
State, yeah.
Jacqueline Alway is a great partner with us at Savannah State University, and she has us on speed dial, our team, and we go immediately to address needs. And if they have students, we've even housed some students at Dundee Cottages, and working through what our next iteration of housing might be able to help accommodate students that are struggling with housing instability.
And we, you know, that's a nationwide issue as well when universities go on break and students who otherwise don't have a place to be outside of the dorms and universities close dorms for those breaks, it creates big challenges. So there have been places that have been able to work with universities to keep portions of the dormitory open for specifically those students.
Also, when you talk about mental health issues, I don't see Georgia Regional on here, so maybe you want to connect with Georgia Regional as well as a partner.
Sorry, just to add, we actually have a doctor from Georgia Regional that will be joining our board.
Oh, that will be joining? Awesome, awesome, good to go. Also, I would like to get a list of the board of directors, and you don't have to give it to me now, but.
For which organization?
For the ICH.
It's on the website, right?
Yeah, we can provide that, certainly.
I would like to have it. I'd like to have a hard copy.
A hard copy, yes.
Thank you.
Also, to answer Alderwoman's question about Chatham Area Transit, staff has been directed Alderwoman to, if they engage anyone that's using the housing or the bus stops as housing, they know all the services, and if not, they can call back and they have someone come out there and address it and send them to the places that they do have services, and also the buses can take them to the services if need be.
Abercorn, Middle Ground Road, please look at those areas because I see these people there every single day.
And Jen can attest, I've called her, encountering people, and have, you know, called that number, and they have been, downright responsive. So thank you for that. Of individuals saying, I don't have any resources, and then sometimes the stories they tell are a little bit different than what the actual deal is, but I do know y'all have been very responsive, so thank you. Alderwoman Bell.
Thank you to the team, Stephanie, and all of you. I can't call everybody by name, but thank you for the work that you're doing and for the work that you continue to do. The thing that impresses me the most is the collaboration. When I look at your team, the list of team members, I know that you could not do as much as you do and be as effective as you are if you didn't have the individuals on who are supporting the effort, but who are representing various governmental agencies, school board, everybody that is, has a stake in this issue, working with you, because then you get that collaborative approach, and then folks are not, are responding and saying, well, it's not in the county or it's in the city and that sort of thing. So I think that had to take a lot of effort to reach that point. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. I know it's not always painless, but I do appreciate what you're doing and the progress that you're making.
Yes, sir.
And also, I challenge everybody to, as we advocate for the homeless, to go out into the community and spend a day or spend an afternoon with it. But I'm just going to definitely send a shout out to all the homeless vets and everybody that hung out last night that live and stay in the area of Bull Street, all the homeless Knicks fans that was out last night celebrating. So, they are still people. So they were out celebrating and we had a good time. So if you get an opportunity to go out and spend an afternoon or a night out with some of the people, you'll be you'd be amazed at the conversation that you would get from some of these people.
If I could spend a minute on veteran homelessness
Yes.
for a second. So veteran homelessness is different than other types of homelessness for one key reason, is that most veterans have access to a closed healthcare system at the VA, and there are dedicated housing dollars that come from the federal government to meet the need, the full need of veteran homelessness, which is why communities have had great success in being able to reduce the number of veterans who are experiencing homelessness at any one time in a community. The mayor mentioned getting close to reaching functional zero in Chatham County for veteran homelessness, and we are close to reaching that number. And that's in partnership with the Veterans Administration and the shelter beds that they provide through their per diem program, as well as permanent housing through HUD-VASH, which is the program that provides permanent supportive housing for veterans. But it's also because of the Dundee veteran tiny home community that the Homeless Authority built without HUD-VASH dollars and provide those resources too. So just a different, the reason we call out veterans homelessness is one, because our nation feels like it's unacceptable for veterans to experience homelessness. The federal government has funded that need, and there is a closed healthcare system with healthcare housing as healthcare dollars attached to those programs that have met the need. So it's different in kind from kind of every other subpopulation of homelessness that we talk about because of those specific policy initiatives that the federal government has taken. And you're absolutely right, we have to work with the Veterans Council and others. A lot of that work is driven by the VA and their work here with partnership with our ICH. But I do think that this year we will be able to reach what we call functional zero in that space, which means that it doesn't mean that no veteran will ever fall into homelessness again. They will, but that there will be resources and a system in this community to be able to respond very quickly to that veteran who's in need and get them connected to the services.
Okay.
Well, I think, the top line here is great work, more to do. But again, I think milestones are important. And I don't think because we have the mountain ahead that we ignore the mountain we've climbed. And again, we've been able to do this together. Y'all had comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I was wrapping on up. So I was giving, nobody was raising their hand, so I think I saw the woman in there first. Did you have your hand up? Did you flip right quick?
I did, and I'm going to continue to listen because I was listening because to me something's missing, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. I know looking at this issue or looking at issues period, I often mention point of view because we have to look at these issues based on where we sit. Our perspective from where we sit, like Alderman Pertee was talking about the 6th district and that perspective. I respect that. Thank you all for the work that you do and for putting this presentation together and bringing us this information. And based on my point of view and where I sit in the 1st district, the part of the 1st district that is mostly impacted by this homelessness issue is the greater west side of Savannah. And what we're seeing there, and last night I was in Woodville, we actually discussed the increase in homeless people camping out. We discussed it Tuesday night in Cloverdale, and they discussed it a lot because of what's happening near Bowles Ford and around the back of the center. They're seeing a lot of activity, so we discussed that then. We discussed it last week in Kyla Brownsville because they're seeing an increase, especially accessing empty housing and fires, and so they mentioned that. So just about every meeting I'm going into on the west side, Hudson Hill, they're mentioning back around Rankin Street, people camping out behind the dollar store. Homelessness had not been a west side issue. Were there people who got put out their house, or their parent or mom put them out, yes. But we had maybe a housing issue, not having, which is probably really an affordability issue, but it all go back to economics. This whole issue, homelessness, housing. And if I'm talking about the people I'm representing that's impacted, mostly in Greater West Side, we're talking people who are impacted economically, impoverished, high poverty rates in these census tracts in that area. And these are the people that are seeing an increase in not people who live in that community who are trying to maintain housing and continue the lineage of living in their community. But we're talking about vagrants or the mental health people. We're talking about returning citizens. We're talking veterans, the type homelessness that they were accustomed to seeing camping out. So we're seeing something differently. I don't know about the rest of you all in the other districts, if you all are seeing, based on these numbers, and based on this presentation, all of us should see a decrease. I'm seeing an increase. I don't have the scientific numbers because this is a science and an art. You know, we have to get these numbers and do this work, but we have to be compassionate. This is a social problem. You know, so it's an art. So that's why I appreciate this work. But based on the people I'm representing, we are not advocating for all these resources for a problem we didn't have. There's a term called poverty dumping. That's when you bring a population that's poorer than the population on the ground and bring them and insert them into that environment. And so we are very much against that. Now, that's why I know that the Salvation Army project that they are proposing right in the center of 3 historic African-American, historically underserved communities, is terrible planning. Now, what Family Promise does and some other entities, that's a good model for these neighborhoods because we could absorb a house for 4 ladies, 4 moms and some kids, or 3 guys. We could absorb that in the community and not impact negatively the quality of life. But to absorb some big box of bringing in a new population, no, that's not going to work. But we're going to continue to try to fight that. So single moms, that's a housing problem. We do have that problem. So whatever we could do to accommodate that population, it would positively benefit the people I serve who are being impacted. Some families, the hotel piece, we're seeing that, we sympathize with that. The kids going to school, but these neighborhoods, all of them seeing an increase, while these numbers are telling us that based on these numbers, we should be seeing half of what we saw, and we're seeing an increase. So I'm concerned about that. Does that mean that the impoverished or the homeless are coming into the first district? If the numbers are telling us it should be down, but we're seeing an increase, that's why I'm listening. What's missing here? There's something definitely.
So I think here's kind of like my running policy theory on. We used to have when we did not have programs that tried to disrupt encampments, where we didn't have services to provide, where we didn't have anti-camping laws and other things. There were places that large encampments would operate out of that the city did not touch. Now, that might have meant that those encampments were more centralized in certain locations. But it was also very, very unhealthy and unsafe for the folks who are working there. So as we've increased our resources, increased our ability to try to engage those encampments and draw boundaries around what's acceptable or what's not acceptable, we see folks who are not engaging in services continue to move around and change camping locations. So what that requires from us is not to say, oh, great, the large encampments that was once under the President Street overpass is gone, mission accomplished, is that we understand that you know, the individuals that may have been there, even though homelessness isn't static, it's not the same people, that these encampments might be now smaller but spread further out across the city. And we have to expand our reach in our efforts to be able to continue to what I call therapeutically disrupt these campsites. So you might see campers in one, so, you know, like in my neighborhood, there's a piece of public land where, and I walk Merle every night, where sometimes there's somebody camping out and other times there's not. It's about half and half. And it's going to be different, and they're different people. So people are trying to find different spots to be. So the solution to that outreach and that therapeutic disruption isn't to just focus on the areas where we used to see large encampments, but now recognize that like our operating space is much larger, and we have to focus on these new areas. Like the Alderman Pertee was saying, we see a lot of issues in undeveloped wooded areas where, you know, folks can kind of get away from eyesight, set up a camp, maybe be there for several days even before we're able to engage them. You'll see ones or twos set up behind Bowles Ford. So I think you're absolutely right on that issue, Alderwoman Lanier, and our response has to be to draw to make sure that we're trying to change behavior everywhere in the city, and not just in the places where it existed 4 or 5 years ago that have been taken care of now, but know that problem, you know, has kind of spread out, or we're seeing the issue more spread out now. I think that's my kind of operating policy assumptions as to why we're seeing smaller encampments in places where we did not see them previously. I don't know if you agree with that or not. That's but that's kind of
absolutely right. That is what we're seeing, and I think the domino, the first domino was the encampment under the bridge there on President. And you're absolutely right. But I do want to say that we're moving in the right direction. But we have to be very thoughtful and intentional on the impact. And that's always, because we practice GPS, keep our citizens involved on the impact first and foremost. I know we're saying these are citizens too, they're unhoused citizens, maybe not, but I'm talking about the tax-paying homeowner citizens. Let's make sure we keep them.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Alderman Leggett. Alderman Marla Bryan.
Mr. Melder, Mr. Mayor, Council, thank y'all for your presentation. Jim, we come a long way, haven't we? Yes. Well, I think homelessness is not just a Savannah problem, but the House Bill 295 made it so. And then 797 came back and said that citizens can sue the city. And so now, when we vote for these things, this council asked for it, I didn't ask for it, so whoever pushed it. And so when we say that we're doing all that we can, it's still not gonna be enough. It's still not gonna be enough. We're never gonna have enough money. And so all of these people that come up here, I would like a return on my investment. We've heard Jen talk, and we've heard Union Mission talk, but the day centers, Come As You Are, Park Place, they need to be in front of us telling us exactly what they're doing, because I was on the inception of the day center, and all down Skidaway, you see homeless people right in that same vicinity. And so I would want to know, is that person who's doing the showers, are they going and getting people? Because they're at all the bus stops, all of the bus stops along Skidaway. And so if we have something that's centrally located there, then it shouldn't be so visible. Maybe they don't know, because we don't do a lot of good communications with the people that we serve. Even with people who have cars, they don't know what's going on. We got to do a better thing of that. And so this bill, this horrible example of privilege, is unearned advantage, because they get to decide who can stay wherever they want, but we can't, because we have to make sure that we provide the quality of life for everybody. When we talk about equity, nobody wanted it in their districts. I wanted it in my district because that's what I came in. And so everything that I do, the housing, the crime, it supports the homelessness because we got this big wheel and we're not connected. We're not connected. We keep saying that we're doing the same thing, and if we're doing the same thing, we should see a return on our investment. We should not have a day center that's right around the corner and you see people there. And so first, I would like to ask them, we never get a chance, Mr. Manager, to see exactly, we know what our mission is and what our vision is, but it cannot be the same thing if we're seeing the same things occur, right? And so the other thing is downtown, you know. We've got a lot of stuff going downtown that is a catalyst for all the city ordinance that we put in shape, right? And so we got to do it better, Mr. Melder, when you bring these kind of ordinance in front of us. I personally know that I was going to vote against it because it is. We could say it's not, but it is criminalizing the homelessness because they can't sit on benches after a certain amount of time when anybody else can go sit on a bench. They can't walk through the park when anybody else can walk through the park. If they look like they're homeless, then they can be subjected and be profiled. So when you say that we are doing a good job, I just want us to do a better job, right? I appreciate everything you're doing. They're never gonna have enough money, but the things that we have in place that supports them, like the city ordinances that say it's a crime, how are we gonna keep building these laws and then we don't have anybody on the other side making sure these laws are enforced?
Right.
And so we have an enforcement problem. We got an enforcement problem with ABC, the liquor license, and everybody's getting liquor license, and so we keep creating these momentums to change things, and they don't change things, they make it worse. So I would like to see us sit in front of these people, this continuum of care, and they tell us exactly what they're doing, you know.
Well, I think maybe that's a good opportunity for one of our council workshop field trips in the fall. We'll be you know, kind of visiting our homelessness providers in some of the areas that we see. To the point about, you know, doing good and needing to do better, completely agree with you, Alderwoman. We're an organization of continuous improvement. Today's workshop was not about spiking the ball. It's about, okay, we took an issue, we understood that this was a systems level issue and needed to build a systems level approach for it. I think that we've done a lot of that work and there's a lot more to do. I think the good news is that we have infrastructure in place to help us get a little further faster on this work, and we've built you know, more partnerships to help do that. So I think that where you're focused should be where you're focused, which is what are we going to do tomorrow and next week and next year. I think part of my hope with this workshop too was to help get some of these policies and investments in front of council to understand as we go through budget season later this summer and this fall, what are the strategies you want to double down on? What are new things that you want to see come out of the city in terms of funding opportunities for homelessness? And where do you want to see stronger partnerships and other partners put in more? We've talked about behavioral health and mental health care. The city does not provide behavioral health and mental health care. That's, you know, it would be extraordinarily costly to do something. Not to say that we couldn't, but it would be extraordinarily costly. The opportunity there is to help make sure that we're supporting Gateway and other state-funded mental health and behavioral health providers to be engaged in this space and get the resources that they need to help.
Mr. City Manager, is it possible, or have they ever, our continuum of care people, do they get together and have a meeting? I think, I'm just very glad that we tried to stretch out the time, because everybody knows the most beneficial time for anybody homeless will be between 12 and 6. So you put it to 9 o'clock, but that's just a scratch. We're gonna have to find more money somewhere. In this climate
to the
that we're
COC
having,
meeting, the full COC meets tonight, actually, at 5:30.
At the Civic Center, second floor. I believe we're in the Connor room this time.
Yeah, so that's it's called the General Membership of the Interagency Council on Homelessness, which is our continuum of care. And that general membership, which is all of the providers and stakeholders, it's also open to the public. That general membership meeting is tonight.
Well, okay, so the other question that I wanted to let our people listening, nobody wants to raise taxes. And so we didn't put in this projective of what we're supposed to be doing, so now anybody can sue the city. That's gonna take more money from our coffers for doing the things that when we talk about good government, we can't do good government without money. Everybody wants all of these things, but they don't want to see their taxes increase. So if people start suing us, where's that money gonna come from?
Well, it would, we would have to pay, we would have to pay any settlement that we reach or any verdict that a court would provide. I think the city attorney and I have talked about these new laws that were passed by the state. I'm not sure that we have a level of concern about their actionability here. And in large part because of the policies and investments that the city and the county have made to this regard as well, because you have to show a damage, right? I'm using legal terms and Bates is gonna roll his eyes at me, but he says it's good. You have to be able to show a damage, and you have to show that we're not doing things that we say that we're doing, or not enforcing the laws that we have on the books. And I think that we're doing our job there. So I don't know that I'm as concerned about our liability over those laws because of the investments and the proactive policy stances that this city has taken as well as the county has taken.
Let me add, and I didn't go to law school, but the Knicks did win last night, so.
That's right. That was Murphy's Law.
We would have to,
That made me feel good.
I think, as I understood the law, Mr. Lovett, we would have to show that we didn't do anything. And to me, this is Exhibit A. I mean, I think someone will be very, very hard pressed to make a case that this city has not taken homelessness seriously. And not only have we put the programmatic, we've also put the funding to be able to address it. So to me, a cause of action, I think you could take that in, beyond you being a super attorney, I think, the fact is the evidence supports us. So, the law is the law, but the facts are also the facts.
Okay, and the other thing too, Mr. City Manager, we have to do a better job. We keep giving coastal job preparedness. When we walk around our districts, because everything is booming around here, the people who are working are not people who live in Savannah. We have to really do something about getting our labor force ready. All this new construction, and all you see is cars from Alabama. You walk up to them, Jacksonville. And so we want to do something about homelessness, and we want to do something about housing. We got to give people some more money, and then we got to train them so that they can get these jobs and want that, right? And every time that we get something, let me just stop. I'm not feeling well, but I want to be able to say this right here. Every time we put these new initiatives out, it's like something is missing from the back that we can't move forward with it. And so I heard what you said about being fiduciary members and not worrying about that, but I'm always going to worry about where our money is going to go, who's going to get it, and how we're using it.
So WorkSource Coastal is the 10-county WIA, Workforce Opportunity and Innovation Act, which is federal dollars. We are the fiscal agent for WorkSource Coastal. So when they receive federal dollars through the WIOA, which is that acronym, Workforce Opportunity and Innovation Act, we're their fiscal agent. We were on a call this morning with our WorkSource partners talking about that very issue, and our the work that we're trying to do to do our part to help connect Savannah residents to the opportunities that are coming. I think we're trying to partner again with WorkSource Coastal and CETA and other partners for a very large job fair like we had last year after the announced closure of IP, and it was a very successful one. So absolutely, those are all things that we're working on. I think key too is when you talk about initiatives and that missing piece, is we're one slice of the solution. The city is. We're one slice of it. And so we've got to continue to build partnerships and work with partners who that's their lane, that's their main mission, and make sure that we're providing what the city can provide in the best way to help force multiply their activity. But try not to shoulder all that, because the more we shoulder, the more folks are going to want us to shoulder it. What we need is to build capacity for our partners whose mission it is to do that work.
Yeah, well, I'm very pleased with what's going on at Dundee Village. Her staff has did a really good job, but we're never gonna outchase this, outbeat it. We're just gonna have to work together, and I just want to return on our investment. You have these people that we give them money, and we don't know what their vision is.
Yeah.
How is their vision in sync with our vision? I know they have to, Carrie does a good screening over there, but a lot of times we are still not, from my perspective, and
Yeah.
the district that I'm in, we're not getting that gelled effect that we
Got it.
should have because we're in different directions. Thank you
Well,
so much
I'll
for your
work on
time.
that vision piece. Some of, like we were talking about partnerships and homelessness spaces, those are federal dollars with federal strings attached, and we really look at those guidelines to dictate what the vision and outcomes are for those programs. If we're talking about state dollars, it's the same. So when Ashley was talking about the layered funding approach, you have some of that differences. I think what's really good news is we've got a homelessness strategic plan that is aligned and walks back to the Savannah GPS strategic plan as well. The same with WorkSource Coastal, as they work very, very closely with us, and they were talking about Savannah GPS this morning on our call with some national partners. So I think that plan is helping us provide that vision, but there are some complications to that, you're right.
I also wanted to thank Come As You Are. They're one of our sites for Rock the Block. They share the church on 5 Points. But I'm just really wanting to see in writing what their plan is, because we never get that. You approve the service, and then we don't know if we comparing apples to oranges or what. I think that would be a great thing for us to see exactly what we're doing.
Yes, ma'am. We'll get that grant requirements and what evaluation we have.
Thank you so much.
All right, Alderwoman Shabazz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In reference to homelessness, when the Eastern War was undeveloped, one of the main homeless camps, encampment sites, was right next to the Balboa Canal and where the Truman starts off of President Street. When that homeless camp was shut down, I do believe that especially, and I've got to call your name, Assistant City Manager helped me with Miss Carrie Reed. Before anybody else in the room showed up, she was here, and Assistant City Manager in her previous position was here. And I just wanted to call y'all names out so it won't be left off the screen today. Absolutely. So when that camp was closed and we began to experience throughout the 6 districts in the city of Savannah, this influx and what the table has been talking about with homelessness. So what in the 5th district and in other areas, and Alderman Pertee really did a great dissertation today, and I appreciate your comments on today. I was kind of like, I was going to ask Mr. Mayor, let's shut this thing down because you did a good job on today with that. Just want to say that what my practice has been with our constituents is that we can't be everywhere, but our constituents live throughout the city of Savannah, and that they continue to reach out to us and let us know what they see, and to report to us where these camps are that we don't see, and then we can continue to reach out to the city manager's office and making sure that things are taken care of in reference to alleviating tents being set up in the back of our homes, and the homeless citizens are places where they don't have to be, and there are other places and resources that's being available. I want to thank our presenters on today for coming forward with the city manager, just like the mayor stated when he opened up, that the work that we're talking about, this update, and what the city manager has stated, the purpose of this workshop is an update on what we have done in the past 5 years that did not exist. So I'm just going to say thank you all so much for bringing forward work that wasn't being done, and we're doing it. I know that every day brings on changes. Someone stated that this work, it is not static. In my engineering life, we have these terms of static and dynamic, that this work is dynamic. And as we speak today, one of the presenters mentioned when she talked about dynamic, that these numbers here on these charts that we see today is going to change tomorrow. So let us continue, like the Bible say, Alderman Purdy, that in working with those persons who are unhoused and not sheltered, and the destitute that is among us, that we continue to provide services. We continue to do this work that's being done, and I really and truly appreciate. So I'm asking the public to continue to reach out to us. Let us know what you see so that we can continue to serve this population of homelessness. The Bible also states we will have these types of persons among us. Let us continue to do this work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think the clock is tolling, and so is my stomach. Mr. Manager, I don't know if we have anything else except for executive session that we can do over lunch. Again, let me thank our presenters. Let me thank the team. Again, everyone achieves more. We appreciate it.
Can we give them a hand for that?
All of you, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Doing some very difficult, life-changing work. I really appreciate that. Let's go ahead and recess until 2 p.m. But at this time, we will make a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Second.
And litigation. All right, for purposes of real estate and litigation.
So moved, sir.
All right, been properly moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and we will recess to the third floor. All right.
Today.